Bosch, where people run amok with sin. Two heroic critics brave the strange images to decipher the true meaning understood by none. Welcome to the Garden of Lust, the Garden of Hell, the Garden of Earthly Pleasure.
Actually, it's called the God Earthly Delights. Let's get all this clutter out of here. As I was saying, where is it? Where's the painting? I didn't mean everything. Ah, that's better. My name is Ernst Gombrich, and what you see behind me is The Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch, painted in the early 16th century. On the exterior of the triptych is a controversial image. I have theorized that this is the world's destruction after the flood recorded in the Old Testament. As the triptych opens, on the left you see God presenting Eve to Adam. The center panel shows the sins of mankind, while the right shows its consequences. This is such a fascinating painting. It has baffled many for centuries. Luckily, in 1969, I, decorated scholar and art historian, discovered the true meaning of the piece.
You Austrians call anyone a scholar. Yet it is I, Fra Jose de Sigüenza, who knows the true meaning of the Garden of Earthly Delights. As you can see, the central theme to the painting are the strawberries, abundantly scattered throughout the landscape. The strawberry happens to be a plant that, once eaten, leaves little taste behind on the tongue. The temporary pleasure of the strawberry's sweet flavor is symbolic of the transitoriness of earthly vanities and the vast spiritual emptiness they leave behind.
In reality, the majority of the plants are proven to be fruits other than strawberries. Your 16th century ways are old-fashioned. As I was saying before, the Garden of Earthly Delights is
about the transitoriness of earthly pleasure, as seen by the strawberries. It's quite a well-known theory.
It's a foolish theory. It's actually about mankind's eroticism and sinful indulgences on the eve of the flood.
That the strawberries represent the vanity.
It's the flood.
The strawberries.
Flood.
Strawberries.
Flood.
Strawberries.
Gentlemen, calm down. Let's hear from both of you, and maybe we can come to an understanding of the meaning of Bosch's painting. Fra Jose, why don't you go first? Tell us about these strawberries.
Gracias, señor. As I had begun to explain before, the central element in understanding the Garden of Earthly Delights is the strawberry plant, which is depicted numerous times throughout the work. Due to the momentary sweetness of the fruit, it is the quintessence of transitory earthly pleasure. The lack of lasting flavor to the strawberry is symbolic to the lack of unwavering spirituality suffocated beneath the vanities of society. Many people have believed this painting to be heretical in context, but I find this not to be the case. I would argue that Bosch was making a satirical comment on the shame and sinfulness of mankind. The earthly delights Bosch portrays, such as sexual activities, love of lavish goods, and ignorance of responsibility, are the things that brought death to mankind. Bosch did not intend to create a heretical piece, but instead was warning people of the fall of man and its potential repercussion. Also, in a puzzling twist, Bosch included 3 anachronisms of each panel. These are elements that are not contemporary to the time period of the painting. In the left-hand panel, we can see Adam and Eve prior to the expulsion from the garden. However, there is a creature reading a book in the bottom right corner, which alludes to a later time. In the central panel, there is a clothed figure not befitting to this particular time. I have speculated that this figure is actually John the Baptist, as he is clothed similarly in his historical iconography. Lastly, on the right side, you can see a figure holding pen, paper, and a wax seal. These anachronisms allude to man's fall as conquered by sin.
While Mr. Siggins does pose some valid points about the piece, they pale in comparison to the research I have acquired. That the Garden of Earthly Delights insinuates the world of sin before the flood recorded in the Old Testament. As Siggins mentioned, there is a clothed figure in the central panel. I concur. This figure is an anachronism and stands apart from the time period of this painting. According to my research, this figure is Noah. As we look at the exterior panel, we can see a rainbow in the storm clouds, which represents the salvation of mankind promised through the covenant between God and Noah after the flood. The exterior panel is not a depiction of the creation of the world, though most believe this to be true. The presence of buildings and castles marks the final days of the flood as the waters recede. It is important to note the image of God in the upper left-hand corner. He is pointing at the pages of a book as if he is speaking the covenant to Noah, further emphasizing a new beginning as symbolized in the rainbow. Of course, there is a question as to why Bosch did not represent an ark. It is my theory that the double frame cutting down the middle was in fact not original. It is possible the ark was included in the original composition. The panel represents the sins that prompted God to destroy the world. The principal sin that brought about this destruction was unchastity. He did not destroy the earth completely, just its fertility. The love-making and greed seen in the actions of the people are not vague references to the sickness of man, but are depictions of the earth that God had to destroy. And let's not forget the painting's true Christian name, Sicut Erat Indibus Noi, or in English, Lesson of the Flood.
That is very intellectually complete, but who is right?
Yeah, who is right? We can tell you. I'm Vanessa and this is Lizzie. You both make excellent points. But since there is no recorded meaning to the Garden of Earthly Delights, there is no right answer.
What we understand about this piece, as well as any artwork in history, is gained through the discourse of important critics like yourselves. It is your research and observations that have molded the way we understand the Garden of Earthly Delights in the 21st century.
So technically we are both right?
And they all lived happily ever after.